So, hello everybody. Can you see me well? Can you hear me well? Hello, yes, Irina can hear me. What about the rest? Yeah, pluses. Okay, good. Yeah, perfectly. Happy to hear that. So, welcome to everybody to our webinar dedicated to storytelling. My name is Victoria Pleshkova. I'm a MM Publications English Language Teaching Consultant in Ukraine. And today we're focusing on telling stories for our teaching purposes. Of course, telling the story is an ancient art. So we are used to hearing stories since our childhood. Actually, this is the way of discovering the world since the pre-primary age and since the baby age. But today we're going to focus on usage of these stories during our lessons, and also I would like to show you couple of tricks. Hope they will be useful for you, how to use the factual stories for storytelling and for our students' development. As you know, so the thing which I'm constantly repeating during all the seminars and webinars, so everything that we do during our lesson is aiming the education, and also every activity, even the funniest activity, is thoroughly controlled by us, and every step is aiming, so receiving one of the targets, yes, so and achieving our lesson aims. So, and as usual, right at the beginning of the event, I will bother you a couple of minutes with the information about MM publications. Hopefully there are some fresh faces for us who don't know much information about the MM publications, about who we are and what we are doing in Ukraine. So, first of all, so MM Publications is an international publisher. We are publishing for the whole world, for Latin America countries, for China, and also for every country where English is the second language and when there is the necessity of teaching English as the second language. And also we have our headquarters and the main representatives in the biggest English-speaking countries such as the United States of America and the Great Britain. And there we also not only have our headquarters with our teaching experts and authors of our books, but also in these countries we face the necessity of teaching English. As you know, the world becoming more and more global, and the refugees and the migrants, they also need a chance to learn English using high quality material, and also MM Publications gives them a chance to do that. And also we're publishing for Ukraine, and we're publishing every year. We're trying to introduce something new to the market and to Ukrainian teachers. And this year, if you haven't seen yet, so I would like to recommend you to pay attention to such courses as Pioneer and the Young Stars, because alongside with the special program for Ukraine, they are high quality books. And also, if you would like to see them and to feel and to touch all the pages, you may contact the linguist managers and order a preview for 2 weeks. It will cost you nothing, and you will have a chance to see the book in realia. And in case of arising some questions, you may always contact the linguist managers or directly me. So my contact details are available on our websites, or if you wrote me email previously, so you may find my contact details right there below in the signature. So any question you have, I will be happy to hear you, all of you, and to provide the information which you need. And also, I'd like to remind you that we created some special program for Ukraine. Special program for Ukraine, they are books which were thoroughly chosen for Ukraine. And also we have special sales offers, so free components and discounts and many pleasant things to make the teaching process easier for teacher and more exciting for your students. More information again is available at our managers, so you may contact them and ask all the questions you need. And I'd like to pay your attention to the design of the books, as they are not just the Smart Junior or Full Blast or New Destinations. They are special editions for Ukraine. What does it mean? It means that each of the books contains some specially designed cultural component to provide all the information which is required by our state program, and to highlight not only the international aspects of using English, but also to highlight information about Ukraine. Because one of the most difficult tasks with our students face, especially when it comes to the real life situation. So when they get into the surrounding of non-native speakers or foreigners, and they have a chance to tell about their country, usually they get stuck because things which seem simple for us, they are usually not so easily explainable in foreign language. That's why this cultural component is of a high assistance during our lessons. And moreover, it's colorful, exciting, and it's interesting for our students. And moreover, so we are not only offering you the special program as the best books for Ukraine, but also each of the books is accompanied by special grammar book. So I constantly keep telling the same information that I'm also practicing teacher, and sometimes my students call me the grammar Nazi, because they know that grammar drills and grammar revisions, it's inevitable part of our lesson. So every time we need to revise some material and to drill it. And moreover, I would like to underline that grammar is important, but according to the program of the new Ukrainian school, grammar is not the aim of teaching, but this is the instrument which we use for teaching. So this is our effective tool. And by using such books, you have a very good chance to save your time for the lesson preparation, as they are thoroughly designed according to the book syllabus, so you don't need to look for anything additional. So you just need to take a book and to practice and enjoy it. And moreover, they are not only just grammar exercises. So each module is ending with some productive activity, because if we receive some information, so it works for adult people. Yeah. So if we receive some information and we don't use it practically within 72 hours, it will be forgotten, and it will take some time later on to restore it and to put it in the practical way. So that's why grammar books, they are of a high assistance to you. And so I mentioned 72 hours, that's for adult people. As for our students, so the younger they are, so the smaller the span of their memory. So for high school kids, it's probably 24 hours. For young teens, so probably couple of lessons when they are still remember to restore what you were talking about. And for primary school, it's every time the new thing, so you need to revise it and to drill it and to put it on the productive way. And also we will help you not only to conduct interesting and efficient lessons, but moreover there will be a chance to prepare students to the exams, as we offer numerous wonderful books for the preparation to the most popular international exams. And moreover, last year we were the ones who assisted ministry in preparation to the state final exam, and those books, they are highly known and respected by teachers. We are really grateful for all your feedbacks, positive or little criticizing. Anyway, that's very important for us, so we know what to improve for the next time to offer you a better book, so which will fit your teaching needs. And also here you may see that we may help you to prepare to FCE, to IELTS, to the most popular international exams which are taken by school children, and also our bestseller, The Use of English B2, which is useful not only for students but for teachers as well, who want to keep their knowledge on the right level. And moreover, probably you are planning to prepare yourself to the international exams as according again to this state ministry program, so which will start next year. So the teacher's qualification will have to be proved, and this book will help you to just to refresh your knowledge of the little particles. So also, so as again, the modern generation which we're teaching at the moment, they have their peculiarities. Yes, so the first peculiarity is that they are not very effective at communication, unfortunately. In real life communication, they mostly go online, and to resolve some issues through chat is much easier for them than to communicate in the real life. So that's why we also want to stay modern, and we created our special ELT platform. So if you're using one of the books, you need to go there, register yourself, your colleagues, your fellow teachers, with your colleagues and also register your students, and you will have a chance to work online, to have some online exercises which are extremely exciting for students and for teachers. It gives you a real chance to track time, so how much time your students spent on this or another exercise, and in general how much time they spent online. I use this tool with my students, and it's really exciting for them. So when I catch somebody on this exaggerating point, so when I tell them that excuse me, but I saw that you were only 1 hour online, it's not enough to complete all the exercises, and they are trying to prove me that that all exercises were done by them. So that's another teaching instrument for you. And moreover, all the exercises which are given online, they are unique. So you will not find any of those exercises neither in students' books nor in workbooks. So they are something extra, additional. And if you feel like, so please go there, go online, and upgrade your teaching style. And that was the information about MEM publication, some general information. Again, if you have more questions, please don't hesitate to contact and to ask all the questions. And now I hope that you are all able to see the picture which I am showing to you. So do you know, what can you tell me about this guy? Do you know him? So you may write your answers in your chat box. Probably you may guess his nationality or religious belief or age, probably. Confucius, Chinese. Okay, nice try, Irina. Could be Chinese wise man. Yeah, he's definitely wise indeed. He's Chinese, okay. An old wise man. Yeah, this is a perfect description. Actually, you see, this is a very good communicative activity to ask little question. Yeah, so maybe he's a Chinese storyteller. Actually, in a way, he's storyteller because we are talking about storytelling. Of course, everything that we are going to do is connected to this topic, one way or another. Okay, Chinese, yeah, definitely. So his name is Lao Zi, yeah, so he's a Chinese wise man, yeah, so he's a philosopher. And those who study philosophy, they know his works pretty well. And why I'm talking about him, because while preparing to this seminar, I found a very nice quote by his that a journey of 1,000 miles must begin with a single step. The same thing we may apply to telling stories. So we cannot demand telling a complete fluent story in foreign language from our students. But if we go there in little step, adding always little details and expanding the knowledge and inviting our students to use everything that they know and their active and passive vocabulary and active and passive knowledge, it will give us a magnificent result. Yeah, so let's learn this art of a little step. And also, what I'm driving at, what I want to say by this quotation, that storytelling is a magical tool which we may use not only for the primary school children when we're telling them some original stories in order to deliver some moral values which are highly important for that age, but we may also use them for delivering the language which we want them to use. Yeah, so thank you, Yaroslava, nice comment. So some way Kobzar. Yeah, so because Kobzar also contains some wise ideas. Yeah, sure. Okay, and first of all, so to work successfully with storytelling, as is with any other aspect of English language teaching, yeah, so we need to know what that is, yeah. Then storytelling, yeah, so this if we look up the definition, so we may find this one. Yes, so the storytelling is the art of telling an unscripted story to a listener. Yeah, so there is always a storyteller, the one who tells story, and there is always somebody who is let's call it a consumer of the information which we want to deliver. But if it works such one way, yeah, so I have a question. So there are 172 people online at the moment who are probably interested in this topic of storytelling. Yeah, so I have a question to you. Do you need it in your class? Do you need storytelling in your class? Yes, sure we do. Yay, all positive answers. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so you may not bother yourself typing right every time, you may just write plus, yeah, and that's all. Okay, so I have a question. What benefit can you see in using the storytelling in your class? How can it help you to teach more successfully? So how can a storytelling help you in teaching? What are the benefits? Trainer the memory, communicative skills, yeah, good. Developing fluency, yeah, that's one of the aspects I'm going to focus on today. Develop creativity, teach speaking, yeah, very well, fluency in speech. And moreover, I would add fluency in writing and in perceiving the text, as storytelling must be adjusted not only for developing speaking skills, it also involves listening skills, and moreover we may apply it to writing, yeah. And also, so one of the benefits which I would like to highlight, yeah, so first of all, it improves learner self-confidence, yes, because it, again, when we teach young learners, I always make a focus, yeah, that sometimes they have this fear of making a mistake, and that's why even when they know the correct answer, they are afraid to tell something. That's why one of our tasks is to shift their attention from this fear of making a mistake to some other activity. And when we are in the story, in the plot, in characters, in miming, gesturing, or thinking of the plot, so we forget about those fears. So that's why the self-confidence grows. And if the plot of the story is familiar to a student, he or she will feel more confident during the lesson when we're talking about this, yeah. And also listening skills, yeah, as when we tell the story, the students need to perceive the story, and it develops their listening skills pretty well. And of course, speaking skills, yes, because we are learning not only to deliver the information, but we learn it to deliver it in such a way that people will catch not only the information itself, but the mood of the story, the character of our heroes, and so on. Also, critical thinking skills, they are highly important, yeah? So because we need to be able to evaluate and to say, so is it okay and or not okay, and just to prove our point of view. And of course, creativity. In storytelling, creativity is unlimited. It's unlimited edition for your students and for you to have a very nice and efficient lesson, yeah? And but as a teacher, yeah, so everything we do during the lesson has to help us to achieve some aim. Yeah, so before you tell a story or you use a storytelling thing, so during your lesson, you need to think about several things. Yeah, so you may see them now on the slide which I'm showing you at the moment. So how I'm going to link the story to the rest of the course. Yeah, so because if I found a very nice story which I believe will be interesting for my students, and they will benefit, for instance, from the moral, from the idea of the story, but it isn't connected to other aspects of my module or of my class, so it will be not so useful or not such a good idea to use it during the lesson. Yeah, so and how I'm going to lead and follow up. Yeah, so what are the things which I'm going to use to present, yeah, so the story, to set the students on the right track of the story's moral, and what is the follow-up, so what is the practical benefit which I'm going to receive from a story, and how am I going to organize the space and the place, because if we want to focus on storytelling, yes, so just usual rows rows of the desk which we face during the common lesson, they will be not so motivating, so the atmosphere will be not alright. So thinking about the atmosphere is also a very good idea. And when we face the storytelling, yes, so usually story is associated with little children, yes, so that children listen stories and they learn from stories, yeah. And here I got some benefits, yes, so from perspective of ELT, yes, so how it benefits for them. So it allows children to experience diverse cultures from the first point, yeah, and to have an insight in different traditions, values, and situations, because many nations have values of many nations, they are quite contradictory. each other. And to help them also to understand that some moral values, they are unique for the country, or they may be the same, they shared in the whole world, and to help them to consider the new ideas. And if we focus on more the adult learners, or teens and adult learners as well, so the storytelling is also quite useful tool for them, as it promotes a feeling of well-being and relaxation. Yes, so because usually the storytelling is seen as some relaxing, so activity. As we know, so vice versa, that it's very active. We need to provide much information. We need to know much in order to be a perfect storyteller, or to deliver a funny or an interesting story. And also, it needs to increase willingness to communicate thoughts and feelings. Because feelings, they are also important inside the story. So, is it a tragic story or is it a happy story? So they are all things which we may show by means of language, not only emotions. Although the mimics and gestures, they are of great assistance in this way to us. And also it encourages active participation, because when there is a little discussion of a story, so even for those who prefer spending their time online, so checking messages on Facebook or Contact, so they will go back and they will listen to something, because usually it is a process which takes some time, so you need to plan a half of a lesson or the whole lesson for your storytelling, and so they lose just the chance to get a good mark for this thing. And also, so this is a very good thing for your classroom management, or as we say now, so classroom culture. And it increases verbal proficiency, so those speaking skills development. And and it is always combined with the listening skills, because so speaking and listening, they are the skills which are developed only together. We cannot develop speaking without listening. We cannot develop listening without speaking, because it doesn't work like this. And also it encourages the cooperation between students. So it will help you to have better atmosphere inside your classroom. And telling the story is the usage of a language in a productive way, showing the real result which you achieved and which your student achieved as a learner, and your result as a teacher which you achieved by teaching them this information. And this is one of the aims of the New Ukrainian School. So the New Ukrainian School tells that when it comes to foreign languages, that one of the main things is to teach our students how to use language in the real life, because learning and usage of foreign language isn't over with passing the NO and entering the higher educational establishment. We need it more, and as we're getting more and more European country, and the cooperation between other countries and Ukraine is growing, so we extremely need specialists who are prepared to the communication and cooperation by means of foreign language. That's why it is highly important. And so for these purposes, yes, so that the New Ukrainian project starts right next year, and this year we are happy to be involved into the project. And as we created the part of this new experiment for over 100 schools all around Ukraine. So we created special Ukrainian edition of Smart Junior, which involves all the 21st century skills from the basic stages of teaching English. So we teach students to cooperate, to collaborate, to use modern technologies. We teach them about culture, and this is all possible from the beginning levels of teaching and learning English. And one of the things which are implemented in the books they are stories. So here you may see some examples. Yes, so how well the lessons are when the teachers use the Smart Junior. One of the things which I observed while attending some of the lessons which were conducted in those pilot schools is that students feel free. They are not afraid to make mistakes, to ask questions. They are always excited about what is going to be the next, as the Smart Junior is thoroughly planned, and it is full of different activities which are extremely interesting for our students and the primary age. They have numerous projects, they watch cartoons, they listen and sing songs. They learn language through real life communication and through meaningful activity. As you know, learning through books at that age is meaningless for the young learners, but learning through games, which is the only meaningful activity for them when they are 6 or 7, so makes a great sense, and it gives a very good result. And so here one of the examples, yes, of the pages which we have there in our Smart Junior. So here we have a story which is known in the whole world. Yes, we are always at MM publications, we are always thoroughly choosing the content which can be applied to many countries and many cultures as their unique values. So here we have the story of Cinderella. Yeah, so Cinderella, you know, the story of a girl who lived with 2 evil sisters, but she was lucky to get married with Prince. So not her evil sisters, but her. And here we may use some techniques, yes, so to teach this story. So first of the stages, of course, is a passive. Yes, so we're listening and we're pointing in the book. Yes, so where is Cinderella? Where is her sister? Where is the prince? And so on and so forth. But during the next lesson, we may revise the story and bring it into the storytelling. So how can we do this with young learners? So using our movements and gestures, yeah, and by our facial expressions, because at that age students cannot be a storyteller, or it has to be extremely talented student at least, and usually the teacher here is the storyteller, and we may retell the story, so to revise the story once again using those facial expressions or movements. So we may ask them for some target vocabulary by retelling the story. So for instance, then the prince to the Cinderella's house, yeah, so they need to give you the verb, yeah, so, or we may show the picture, yeah, so, and to ask, so who is this girl? And the task of the student just to recollect this thing and help you to organize the story. They may present the story by movements, yeah, so that's all is possible during work with the young learners. And also, so what tasks can we provide using this storytelling technique for young learners? For instance, we may ask them to respond in a role, yeah, so somebody is an evil sister, somebody is Cinderella, and somebody is a prince, for instance, or a king, so it depends how deeply you go into the plot of the story. But usually it's not so difficult because at that age they already know the stories, it's an international one. So you may ask them, give me the answer, yes, as a Cinderella. So I'm telling you something, yeah, and you respond. Then also it might be mimed action. So the TPR approach is one of the basic things which we may use for the primary school kids when they need to show that they understand us. So they may respond using mimics or some movement. And also we may use the mapping a story. Yeah? So for this means we may prepare some card beforehand and ask the students to organize the story in its sequence. So what happened the first, what was the next, the third and the fourth. So depending again what age of your students, so the older students are, the more stages you may apply for this activity. So even for primary school, so you don't need to ask them to be fluent in building their phrases, in telling the story, but to implement some target elements into telling the story. And again, so they will shift the focus from just the book to from the paper to some real-life communication. So they may give prompts to each other. This is also a very good thing. It's a sign that they are sure in the information and that they know what you're trying to deliver that to them. Or here, I'm having the sample from the full blast, so that's level 3. And here we have some factual text. Yeah, so this factual text is about Jamie Oliver. Yeah, so I already showed this text during some of the previous webinars. So here we have the books, yes, so Full Blast, and to the top they are the books for teenagers, for secondary school and for high school as well. So at that age we deal more with the factual text, yeah, but it doesn't mean that we cannot use the storytelling technique for work with the with such type of the text. So what can we do? First of the thing which we may do, and our students already mature in their knowledge for this thing, is to retell the story. Yeah, so simple retelling the story, retelling the facts is also an element of a storyteller. But unlike the primary school where the storyteller is mostly the teacher, here we are shifting the role of a storyteller to the students. So they are the ones who create the story. And one of the things which I like doing with my students when we have the text is retelling the story, but not simple retelling, and but as you may see, retelling the story backwards. Yeah, so I ask them to retell the story from the last event and moving slowly to the first one. It is more engaging as they need to follow, to follow these steps. Yeah, so how everything happened, but not in a logical sequence, but backwards. And also, this is a very good activity. For instance, when you are learning the past perfect tense, so retelling the story backwards. Yeah, so what had happened before this event. So that's also a productive thing. And then the next thing which we may do with such factual text, retell the story in character. Yeah, so we may even invite the characters which are not in the story. Yeah, so for instance, here again, Jamie Oliver, his biography. He was born in London, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere in England. Sorry, I don't remember his biography pretty well. So he was born, then he went to school, then he took part in this event, then he cooked for the Prime Minister, then he cooked for the Queen, and so on and so forth. And we may ask them to retell the story, for instance, from the perspective of his mother. His mother isn't mentioned in the text, but as Jamie Oliver is an adult man, yes, so we may ask the students, so could you retell the story from the perspective of his mother? Yes, so and think about how she felt at that moment. Yeah, and then students receive the role, yes, so which is again an interesting task for them and a challenging task for them, yes, because everything that we do has to be challenging, more or less, because the more challenge it is, sometimes when it's too complicated, they are not able to do this, but to implement a little challenge, yeah, and you may organize the mother's competition, yeah, so which mother is the most trustworthy, yeah, so which mother will give more emotions, or simply calculate the vocabulary which you want them to be used. So that's another activity. So what I'm driving at, even with factual text, you may organize something original. And the third activity, from miming to retelling. You may split students in pairs and ask them to retell the story. So you always see who is ready and who is not really ready for the lesson. So you may split them into pairs according to this criterion, and that student who knows the plot of the story or the text better has to mime the text to other students, and the other student needs to either tell the story or to write the story and then present it to the class, so what he realized from this miming and gesturing activity. So again, it's not so time-consuming. It can take only 3 minutes of your lesson, or if the text is too big, you may split it into little stages. Somebody is supposed to speak about childhood, somebody is about education, and somebody is going to dwell on the professional development of Jamie Oliver. So actually, that doesn't matter how you will organize, because always there is always this person who knows what is the best for the students, and this is the teacher who works with this class. So I'm trying to provide you variations, what might be done, and your challenge and your task is to try it through your lesson. So hopefully you will enjoy it, and your students will enjoy it as well. And also, when we tell the story, I'd like to point out the language which we use. Yeah, so as the thing which you mentioned, that one of the main points for us in usage, the storytelling that developing speaking skills and the fluency. Yeah, and usually when we focus on fairy tales, for instance, yes, the only phrase which comes up to our mind when we tell a story, this once upon a time. Yeah, so give your students variation, drill the vocabulary with them, so use the brainstorming, and ask them to begin the story in a different way. So what are the phrases which we may use? For instance, once upon a time, this story began. Yeah, so if you grew up in 90s and you watched the TV series Hercules, so every time this TV show began, there was this story began at the age when evil gods, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so this story began. So here is the set of the story. And then, long, long ago, if this is a story about something that is 100 years older than the present time, or not so long ago, we can speak about modern stories as well. Storytelling doesn't mean taking all of the stories which happened centuries ago. It might be something that happened recently. It might be even the situation which happened yesterday in the school corridor. So it also can be the story. Or then, recently, we may say. And also, by beginning of the story, we may already set the scene. We may give the mood. On a cold winter day or on a cold winter night, it was snowing, and think about the mood of the story. Yeah, so just brainstorm what feelings they have or what they think their story is going to be about. Or on a hot sunny day, and then ask them to make the list of the events they think are going to happen in this story. So what I'm driving at, just give them the variation. And again, so fluency is another thing which was mentioned by our participants. And so what I'd like to point out that all courses by MM Publications, they are developed, they are designed for communicative competency. Yes, so we teach our students to communicate, so in speaking or in writing, and also to be very skillful in their receptive skills. And also, one of the things which we highly respect on the higher levels of learning language is the word lists, which we may use for story writing, for storytelling. And to make the story fluent, so here I'd like to remind you that, for instance, your destinations course has got those word lists which you may use for creating a story, as there are some lists for it. Introductory part, for contradicting information, for summing up the story. So everything is already given, so there is no limit for your imagination of usage, those lists. What I'm driving at, that they exist and you may use them. It's a very effective tool. So how can we use them? We may, first of all, so they are the folding stories. I believe you know what is a folding story. So when we take a piece of paper, yeah, and we fold it, hiding the previously given information. But and then at the end, so we sum up and we read this story. Usually it's a very funny story, and students like it really much. So what I'm driving at, that you may combine the word lists, yeah, so those things which, that's vocabulary which you are teaching to them, with such funny activities. So you may write the beginning, so from your target vocabulary, yeah, so this story began, this is the first phrase, the second one, in addition, the third, furthermore, and so on and so forth. And students need to know the topic, use of course the target vocabulary, and they will give all their ideas, and it will be easier for them, and also because they already have this sample, they have what to begin with, and also for them it's a challenge, yes, so to understand what this connecting phrase means. And this is a very good revision, for instance, for exam preparation, because you know that in all internationals and state exam there is this writing part where sometimes they have to write long text, the text of a big volume, and using connectors is one of the important parts of assessing those works. So why not to train that in such a fun way? But also, moreover, when we have this folding story, we may fold it in a traditional way, so as we do it, or you may find different ways of folding the paper, so which I found online, and I will definitely use in my lesson today in the evening. So when you fold the story, when you prepare paper folded, and the task of the students is unfold it when they read the story or fold it in the correct way when they write it. Again, so you may see some examples, magnificent examples again, which I found online, so you may just Google folding story and find those websites and different descriptions. And again, so even if you are already using those folding stories, it will make the process more interesting and more exciting. And also when it comes to storytelling, so telling a story, so usually we educate our younger generation using some classic stories. So, and here I'd like to remind you that MM Publications has a wonderful compilation of readers for all ages, and you may simply choose what you like and then adjust it to your teaching needs. So here you may see that we have four series of readers. So the first one is for pre-primary learners. So the benefit of it that the interactive CD which accompanies every reader by MM Publications gives a chance to listen to a story with American or British pronunciation. Of course, when our learners are 3 or 4 years old, so they don't care about American or British pronunciation. But parents do and teachers do, and it is very nice option to combine from the very younger age to see what is the difference or what are the common things for both variants of English. And moreover, it's interesting because the CD works two ways. That's an audio CD and it's interactive CD. So basically, children have a chance to watch the cartoon with the target language. And also, the second series of readers, again, so they are classic stories which are world known, so they are world famous, and also of course we also have the CD there. But what is important about those books, that in their teacher's book they have the scenario for staging. So another thing for storytelling, yes, so to set it on stage, to show what you learned, and to add some acting skills to blend in some productive activity. And so what I'm driving at, that if you need to organize something, you just need to take a book, finish reading it, and when your students are already familiar with all the plot characters, so you just need to take it and to set on stage. And you kill many hares with one shot, not even 2, but 3 or 4. And also, the older student gets, the more adult stories from world classic literature we may offer them. And in the catalog by MM Publications, you may find not only classic stories, but also some modern stories which are created by our authors, especially for the needs of the English language teachers. And another question. So speaking about famous faces, you know this guy. So he's from the Middle Age time, yes, so obviously. No, so no, somebody doesn't know. Can anybody guess who this guy? Swift, Mozart. I'd like to remind you that it's storytelling, so probably he's the book author. But I like the option of Mozart, yeah. But he was wearing the white wig, so he's usually Molière. He's Swift. Okay. Looks like Newton. Whoa! Excuse me, I'm ELT teacher, so I'm not really good at physics. To be honest, I don't even know how the Newton looked like. So Defoe. Okay. I'd like to give you a hint. So he created a story, one of the most popular world stories, about a little girl who went alone through the wood, and she met some beast in the wood, a gray big one with big teeth. Yay! Red Riding Hood. So, who wrote the Red Riding Hood? Yeah, Charles Perrault. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so he is the one who created this story. Very well. Again, one of the tricks which we may use. Yeah, so during the lesson. give some mimics, use your voice, use intonation. Yeah, so you don't need to bring artificial teeth to the class to show the big teeth. You may use just the gesture like this. Use your emotions. It makes the story even more interesting. So, what I'm driving at, yes, why I'm showing the portrait of this guy. He's world famous because he was creating the stories. Of course, it's a doubtful and a disputable question of whether he created the stories himself, but that's not the point of our discussion. So we may ask our students to create this story. Yeah, so it's your own story. Again, don't limit their imagination, yeah, so don't limit their creativity. What we may do with any story, yeah, so for instance, rewrite the story. So rewrite the story with the one which we have in the book. Yeah, so I'm mostly teaching teenagers and adult people, sometimes also the young learners, but mostly teenagers. Yes, they are the biggest group. And one of the peculiarities of their age or their psychology and personality is that they have their opinion about everything. Yes, so, and mostly the reaction when you offer them something is, I don't like it. They usually don't like the stories, especially the classic ones, but why don't you change the story? Yeah, so I'm offering my students one of the tasks. So I'm making the copy, yes, of our text, which we had in the book, and cross out a paragraph or a couple of sentences and ask them to rewrite this part of a story and to present it to the class. Of course, the easiest thing is to rewrite the final part of the story, but you may choose any part of the story and just aiming that they have to use the vocabulary or the grammar which you will learn through the lesson. And another thing which we may do is to create their own story. Yeah, so sometimes stories they are separated in 2 or 3 parts. Yeah, so after reading the first part of a story, ask them to create the second part of the story. Yeah, so give them the hints of what might happen in the next part, and then ask and let them to create the story in folded way or in a group work or individually. So of course it works more effectively when it's peer or a group work. So 3 students is the ideal number for such activity. Or the third activity, it's a purely productive activity. So here we don't have any supplementary material such as texts or something like that. So it's called freeze. So the teacher chooses 2 students, how it looks like, yeah, inside the classroom. The teacher chooses 2 students who will be acting out the story. And the teacher gives this beginning of the story, yeah, like it was a cold winter day when a husband and wife were having an argument at home. And then one of the students begins speaking catching one role, and another student begins speaking catching another role. And then somewhere in the middle of the emotional conversation, you tell them freeze. And you exchange one student, so they need to freeze, so I mean it literally, they need not to move, yes, and stop speaking. Then you take out one student and bring in another student on the same role. And they need to continue playing this dialogue or polylogues or this situation, but there will be other students, and each of the students has different, so each of the people on this planet have different mental picture of the world. Of course, they might change something, they might change the words, the attitude, or completely change the plot of the situation, so it depends on them. And in such way, you may give every student a chance to speak every 30 seconds, and I promise you that by such activity, each of your students will be engaged into what you are doing. So, and it's very simple activity. The main thing is to check whether they understand the word freeze or not. So if they not, so just use TPR to make it sure, to make sure that they know it. And here I'd like to remind you, yes, so that we conduct seminars and webinars not only for the whole Ukraine or for the definite cities, but also we do it individually for our schools, which are our partner schools. And here I'd like to remind you about the Smart School program. So at the moment we have 55 participants of our project. So here you may see some of the pictures of them, and we do all our best to keep in contact with all of them and to provide our best services. And MM Publications special supporting program for Ukraine Smart School is designed for those schools who choose our books as their source of teaching English. And what do we provide? What services do we provide to those schools? The first thing, of course, we provide the branded plaque, so which is labeling that this school belongs to MM Publications family and that we are constantly in contact with them. And also we provide doubles free components for our partners. So right in the beginning I told you that there is the special program for Ukraine where we provide some free components and presents for those who choose our book. Our partner schools, they are double free components. So, and this is very good not only in terms of economy, but facing the situation, modern situation in Ukraine, so present one, when not every student can allow himself or herself just getting the books, so they seem too expensive. By means of such free components, you have a chance to involve all the children into the magnificent learning process for them not to feel left out or by the teacher and by the class. And also the classroom has always been motivating for all our learners, and it has to show that here we learn English. That's why posters are important, and we provide posters for every classroom where the English is taught for our partners. And moreover, contests and activities for Ukraine. So recently we finished a contest, My Students Call Me a Smart Teacher, which was held for our partner school, and 3 winners will take part in MM Publications Winter Teacher Training School for free, as they are the members of our family. And also, when they face the necessity of organizing some extracurricular activities, they are always welcome to contact us, and we will help in organizing speaking club, grammar clubs, or even summer camps, so whatever they feel like and see the necessity in. And of course, the seminars and webinars, which I already mentioned, they are always conducted individually for our partners. If they feel like inviting the colleagues from other schools to participate in these events, they are always welcome. If not, they just individual communication and training according to the necessity and the needs of the school. And also we involve them into our pilot project participation. One thing which I mentioned right at the beginning, that this year we introduced 2 new books for Ukraine. They are the Pioneer and the Youngster. So the Pioneer is for teaching young adults and adults, and Youngsters, this is the book for teaching primary school children and young teens as well. And before introducing this book into Ukrainian market, we need to be sure whether this book matches the needs of the teacher of Ukraine. Because again, as I previously mentioned, so MM Publication is an international publisher. So we publish for the whole world, and you know what is good for Chinese teacher is not really good for Ukrainian one. That's why we always ask to conduct some trial lessons inside the classroom and to provide us with feedback. So what worked good, what was not so good, and what has to be improved. And after that, we only make a conclusion. So do we need to introduce it to the market, or it won't be interesting for the students? And the last but not the least, every year there will be a lottery among among our partners, about the members of our MM Smart School family, and 5 winners will go abroad with us for a week for a professional development course. So here I'm showing you the photos of lucky winners of our contest, which took part in the year 2016. And the 5 teachers from different regions of Ukraine, they have already attended the professional development course from MM Publications, and luckily we're still in contact and communicate, and they are all our good friends. And if you are interested in more information, you may go to our Ukrainian website, mmpublications.com.ua, UKRAIN.be. Find there on the start page all the information about this project, and if you feel like, yeah, I'm quite interested in it, so you may fill in the application form, send it to us. We will contact you, discuss all the details, and if everything works well, we will sign the memorandum of cooperation and start providing all the services which we already mentioned. And at this point, I'd like to say thank you so much for attending, for being with us. And here you may find the contact details of the linguist company and my contact details. And I'd like to remind you that, if I'm not mistaken, tomorrow is the St. Nicholas Day. So right in the morning, don't forget to check your pillow. So probably something is under your pillow, something sweet or simple present which will make your day brighter, even on such a misty weather which we face in Kyiv at the moment. So again, if you have some questions, please do not hesitate to contact, and wish a successful day and magnificent evening to all of you. Goodbye.